No use. So therefore, reading is not about information download. That any fool can do it. Go to Google, you'll get everything. There's no big deal in that. But what is most important is trying to understand, imbibe the values, the qualities, put into practice. These are the important things. Any case, so okay, some other few more points. Yesterday, what we discussed? Yes.
The vaccination for Vaishnava Aparadhi is respectful behavior.
Yes, respectful dealings. Good.
You told about Krishna, no need to do any activity. He just doing to attract his devotee. You give example of Jai Vijay, past time.
Right. So the main thing is reciprocation with his devotees, pleasing the devotees. That's the main reason why the Lord performs activities.
Our main discussion was on the two topic that Vaishnava Aparadh and this impediments put by Lord's desire.
Correct. So what we discussed in that, the plan of the Lord, why the Lord puts impediments in the life of a sadhaka.
One thing you said that in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that it is their desire also was there.
In the case of Jai and Vijay, that's okay. In the case of sadhakas, what happens? Why the Lord puts impediments?
To uplift them from the lower state to...
Okay, to uplift them. If they're not careful, in what?
They have a lot of material desires. So because they have material desires, Krishna wants to purify them. So that's how he gives the impediments. Thereby he comes to senses, as Prabhupada mentions in purport.
Correct.
They will come to senses and they have no other shelter than Krishna himself. So
that's the main reason. So once a devotee has begun devotional service, then he is under Krishna's jurisdiction. And so if the devotee does not voluntarily become serious, then Krishna will orchestrate situations in such a way that the devotee will be forced to become serious. So that's how Swachannamritya Vishaya Bulaiva. That's Krishna's plan. Okay, fine. So as far as the pastime is concerned, so we see that Swayambhu Manu tries to inspire Priyavrat to once again take up the kingdom, but then Priyavrat feels that this will be entanglement, therefore he refuses. Then Swayambhu Manu goes to Brahma, and then Brahma comes down over there in the Gandhamadhan hill, where Swayambhu Manu, Priyavrat, Narad Muni, all of them are there. And then, so they offer their respects and all that. And then Brahma starts to speak to Priyavrat. So the next section of verses are Brahma's instructions. So this is from, of course, Brahma's, till the 19th verse. Till the 19th verse, there are Brahma's instructions. And the essence of all these instructions, so basically from 11 to 19, this is a section, Brahma's instructions. So the main theme of all these instructions is that I am coming as representative of Krishna, and this is Krishna's plan for you. So you have to obey, because no one can disobey the Lord's instructions. No one can disobey the Shastric injunctions. So that is the main theme of Brahma's instructions. Okay, fine. So let's go ahead. 11th verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Nibodatate Damrutam Bravini Masu yutum devamarhasya prameyam vayam bhavaste tata esha maharshir vaham sarve vivasha yasya dishtam. Lord Brahma, the Supreme Person within this universe, said, My dear Priyavrat, kindly hear attentively what I shall say to you. Do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord, who is beyond our experimental measurements. All of us, including Lord Shiva, your father, and the great sage Maharishi Narada, must carry out the order of the Supreme. We cannot deviate from his order. So, right in the beginning, Brahma makes the point very clear. And in fact, this is the theme of whatever Brahma is going to speak. This only he elaborates in different ways, but this is the theme. We have to follow the Lord's order. We cannot deviate. And he says, even the great personalities like himself, Shiva, no one can deviate from the Lord's order. Prabhupada writes, of the 12 great authorities in devotional service, 4, Lord Brahma himself, his son Narada, Swayambhu Manu, and Lord Shiva were present before Priyavrat. 4 Mahajans were present. Serious matter. In one lecture, Prabhupada says, the 12 Mahajans are like our GBCs. So if 4 GBCs come to resolve issue, so serious matter. So here 4 Mahajans are there. And not only that, but they were also accompanied by many other authoritative sages. So Brahma first wanted to impress upon Priyavrat that although these great personalities are all authorities, they cannot possibly disobey the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described in this verse as Deva, which means always glorious. So even these greatest of personalities cannot disobey. And then Srila Prabhupada explains that how the Lord is always glorious, always pure, he is Shuddham, Apapaviddham, giving the example of the sun. Going to the next paragraph. When Lord Brahma went to induce Priyavrat to accept the responsibility for ruling the universe, he did not go whimsically. He was following the dictations of the Supreme Lord. Indeed, Brahma and other genuine authorities never do anything without his permission. Right. That is why they're Mahajans. They never do anything without the permission of the Lord. Tene Brahmaradaya Adi Kavaye. The Lord dictated Vedic knowledge to Brahma through his heart. The next sentence is important. The more a living entity is purified by devotional service, the more he comes in direct contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a very important point for all devotees, but especially those who are in leadership positions. This is very important. Because so much depends on the inspiration which the Lord gives. So if one has to make decisions, then as one is dependent on Paramatma to make decisions. So if Paramatma doesn't give the right inspiration, one can make wrong decisions, affecting the lives of so many people. You know that pastime about the green peas on Ekadashi? Everyone knows, I think, right? No? Okay, just to tell in brief. So, so there was a festival going on somewhere in the US, and So many senior devotees, sannyasis, proper disciples had come for the festival. And so some 4-5 days festival, one day was Ekadashi. And so the cook was cooking huge quantity of Ekadashi prasad. And so he was cooking, he was stirring. And then he had to go out to get something. So in the meantime, he told his assistant to stir. So when the assistant was stirring, so he saw, this sabji has no color. Ekadashi, you can't put haldi and all, unless you get natural haldi. You can't, so no haldi, no masala. So Ekadashi sabji doesn't have much color. So he was thinking there's no color. So he was thinking something should be put to make it colorful. So he went to the refrigerator, he opened the refrigerator, he found a huge quantity of matar, green peas. So they were very nice. So he took the whole bag of matar and put into the sabji. And he was very happy. Now it looks very colorful. And then after some time, the main cook came, he saw, he said, hey, what you did? So he says, what's wrong? What's wrong? Hey, don't you know it's Ekadashi, so what? So he said, okay, Ekadashi it said no grains, no beans, where it said no peas. So in any case, so then there was no time to cut and cook another sabji. Because it's Ekadashi, on other days if some sabji is less, you just put some chola, something you put and you can cook another sabji. But you can't do that on Ekadashi. So there was no option, only option was when all the devotees sat for prasadam, he had to announce, so before you eat the sabji, kindly pick out the green peas and keep them aside. That was the only thing he could do. But the point is, even though the cook could be the most expert cook, but if the Paramatma inspires the assistant to do something funny like that, who can do anything? Who can do anything? So the cook can say, oh, I cook so many sabjis, I'm so expert, this, that. But just one wrong inspiration by the Paramatma, whole thing is spoiled. So therefore, we are so much dependent on the Paramatma. And that's what Prabhupada is writing here. The more a living entity is purified by devotional service, the more he comes in direct contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So for that, purification is required. So therefore, there is no alternative to serious purification by the chanting of the holy names and hearing Bhagavatam. So today morning also Maharaj was telling that pastime. Srila Prabhupada told him, okay, I know you're here listening to your japa, but you must listen very carefully. So, that's how one will get purified. The medicine has to go inside. Pravishta karnarandrena bhavam swanam. So, kya hai? Swanam bhava saroruham. आगे क्या है? धुनोति शलीलम कृष्ण सलीलस्य यथा शरत. So dhunoti. The dhunoti will take place when pravishta karnarandrena. The medicine has to go inside. If medicine doesn't go inside, how purification will take place? So just like Medicine takes place by for ordinary disease, we take medicine through mouth, correct? Sometimes small children, we have seen, the mother is trying to give medicine, the child spits it out. So if the child spits out the medicine, what effect will be there? So similarly here, the medicine has to go inside through the ear. If it doesn't go inside, no effect. So that's the important point. Then when purification takes place, then Tesham Satyayuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. Okay, further down Prabhupada writes, Lord Brahma therefore had not come to Priyavrat by his own whims. Rather, it is understood that he had been ordered to persuade Priyavrat by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose activities cannot be understood by material senses and who is therefore described herein as aprameya. Thus, Lord Brahma first advised Priyavrat to hear his words with attention and without envy. So, if one is envious, then there's no question of hearing. When one is induced to perform certain acts, despite his desire to do something else, why one is induced to perform certain acts, despite his desire to do something else, is indicated herein. One cannot disobey the orders of the Supreme Lord, even if one is as powerful as Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Manu, or the great sage Narada. So no one can disobey. If one tries to disobey, then one will be forced to obey by the laws of material nature. Okay, next verse, 12.
This one question. What Brahmaji is saying in the translation, in the verse, don't be envious of Supreme Lord. One question is about how, though Nardamuni and Priyavata are discussing about the Lord and Priyavata is absorbed in glorifying the Lord, how Brahmaji is saying that don't be jealous. I mean, he's saying to Priyavata here. And interestingly, Prabhupada is saying, Brahmaji, as the last statement you made, does Lord Brahma first advise Priyavata to hear his words with attention and without envy? Whether envy towards Brahmaji or whether envy towards what exactly, how we understand that?
Either ways. Envy towards Brahma means envy towards Lord. Because Brahma is coming as Lord's representative. In fact, Srila Prabhupada explains, envy towards any living entity means envy towards Lord. Because ultimately all living entities are parts and parcels. So if we show envy towards any living entity, it is ultimately envy towards the Lord. And so why he's saying this? Because if Priyavrat thinks, oh, what is this Brahma? Who is this Brahma to give instructions? If he thinks like that, therefore Brahma clarifies right in the beginning. See, I'm not coming here whimsically. I'm coming as representative of Supreme Lord. When there is envy, one cannot obey, right? When there is envy, then immediately one will say, Are, who are you? That is what happens when there is envy. So I think I'm greater than you, or at least equal. One cannot accept that somebody else is greater. That is the result of envy, correct? So if one has that attitude, how one can obey? That is why Krishna is telling Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, I am giving this knowledge to you because 9th chapter, 1st verse, Anasuyave, non-envious. Because the moment one is envious, one can't obey.
With their discussions, it appears he's not envious. I mean, Nardamuni and he's absorbed in the devotional service.
That may be true, but Brahma is first of all clarifying.
Okay.
Don't be envious of me. I am simply representative of Supreme Lord. Because if he may not have envy, but still he is clarifying. Because if Priyavrat were to be envious of Brahma, he won't follow, na? That is the reason. He is first of all saying, don't be envious. Okay. 12. Natasya kasya tapasa vidyaya va na yoga viryena manishaya va naivartha dharmai paratasvato va kritam vihantum tanubhrid vibhuyat. You can read the translation.
One cannot avoid the order of the Supreme Personality Godhead, not by the strength of severe austerities, an exalted Vedic education, or the power of mystic yoga, physical prowess, or intellectual activities. Nor can one use his power of religion, his material opulence, or any other means, either by himself or with the help of others, to defy the orders of Supreme Lord. That is not possible for any living being from Brahma down to the ant.
So the same point is elaborating what he said in the previous verse. Natasya kasyat tapasa vidyaya yoga viryena manishaya. So by all these things, artha, dharmai, parata, swata. So by all these things, one cannot disobey the orders of the Supreme Lord. By the strength of these material things, one cannot disobey the order of the Supreme Lord. So everyone has to follow. So at the end of the first paragraph, Prabhupada writes, it is clearly stated herein that one cannot surpass the laws and directions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, either by dint of mystic power, scientific education, or austerities and penances. It is impossible. Before that is Mama Maya Duratyaya. The word Manishaya, by intelligence, is of special significance. Priyavrat might argue that Lord Brahma was requesting him to accept family life and the responsibility for ruling a kingdom, although Narad Muni had advised him not to enter household life and be entangled in material affairs. Whom to accept would be a puzzle for Priyavrat, because both Lord Brahma and Narad Muni are authorities. Under the circumstances, the use of the word Manishaya is very appropriate, for it indicates that since both Narad Muni and Lord Brahma are authorized to give instruction, Priyavrat should neglect neither of them, but should use his intelligence to follow the advice of both. To solve such dilemmas, Srila Rupa Goswami has given a very clear conception of intelligence. Anasaktasya Vishaya. Vishayan, material affairs should be accepted without attachment. Everything should be dovetailed with the service of the Lord. That is real intelligence, Manisha. Becoming a family man or king in the material world is not harmful. If one accepts everything for Krishna's service, that necessitates clear intelligence. So can you think of another pastime where two exactly diametrically opposite instructions were being given and one had to reconcile both? Yes, the Ashwatthama pastime. So we know the Ashwatthama pastime, right? So there were two camps, two parties. On one hand, there was Bhima. Bhima was telling, kill. Other hand, there was Draupadi and Yudhishthir. So they were saying, no, he's son of your teacher, forgive. And what Krishna said? Yes, Krishna told Arjuna, you have to satisfy both. So there are two exactly opposite instructions, correct? Kill, don't kill. Exactly opposite. How to satisfy both? So there, Arjuna had to use his intelligence. Of course, that intelligence was given by Krishna only. So then Krishna has to give that intelligence so that such instructions can be fulfilled. And then, of course, we know what he did. What Arjuna did? So he gave a special haircut and removed the money by which he lost his power. So the point is that it's not so easy to resolve such issues, dilemmas. One is totally dependent on Krishna for giving intelligence. So that there can be so many complicated issues in this world. But then one is dependent on Krishna for intelligence. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam. Whoever one may be, one is helpless. You know the pastime of Tamal Krishna Maharaj and the key? Key? Chabi? Anyone knows? No?
He loses the key and some duplicate key he finds out finally.
But in between, what happens? The drama.
Exact details.
Yes. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada had a special briefcase. You've seen in videos. Prabhupada would personally carry white, pink briefcase where all important documents and checks and so many things were there. So he would not give to anyone. So anyway, so in 1974, when Srila Prabhupada came to Juhu, Srila Prabhupada became very sick, and he gave that to Tamal Krishna Maharaj to keep. And that would be usually kept in the inner drawer of the cupboard. You know, cupboards have one inner drawer which can be locked. So the drawer has a lock and a key, and then the cupboard has a lock and a key. And so it was kept in that way. So then one day Srila Prabhupada tells Tamal Krishna Maharaj, bring that white bag. And so he went to bring, he could not find the key. And he was in so much of anxiety. This is Srila Prabhupada's most precious bag. And he went searching all around the Juhu campus. Searching, could not find. So finally he came back to Srila Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, I can't find the key to the cupboard. Prabhupada was very sick. He was lying on the bed. Prabhupada just said, call the GBC. So he thought maybe one GBC man or what. So he asked, so which GBC? The entire GBC body for finding key. Srila Prabhupada wanted to show the gravity of the situation. So, very embarrassing situation, whole GBC to be caught. And he has to tell everyone, I forgot the key. So anyways, so somehow he managed to get a duplicate key made and somehow he solved the problem. But the point is that we are so dependent. We are so dependent on the Supreme Lord to give intelligence. Otherwise, big blunders can happen. Big blunders. And we've all seen, right here in Pune, blunders happening. Nothing is a big mystery. So it can happen in anybody's life if Krishna doesn't give the intelligence. So that is the point that Prabhupada is saying over here.
Previously, I have heard that there is only one instruction of the spiritual master that one can disobey. That is to get married. How much is it true or shastri? If it is true, why it is told like that?
How is it in line with the subject of our discussion?
Priyavart Maharaj is...
Oh, okay, we will come to that a little later. Priyavrat Maharaj has not yet given his decision. First, let us hear Brahmaji's words. Okay, fine, we are proceeding ahead. Text 13. Bhavaya nashaya cha karma kartum shokaya mohaya sada bhayaya sukaya dukkaya cha deha yogam avyakta dishtam janatang datte. Read.
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the living entities accept different types of bodies for birth and death, activity, lamentation, illusion, fear of future dangers, and happiness and distress.
Yes, by the order of the Supreme Lord, everyone has to accept. Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddheshi arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudani maya. Who gives the yantra? Yes, ultimately it's Krishna. Of course, Prakriti gives the yantra, the body, but ultimately it's under the direction of Krishna because Krishna is present as Super Soul. Krishna understands the karma, desires of the living entity, and he gives instructions to Prakriti to give the different material bodies. So, Krishna is doing all this. As Prabhupada writes in the purport, the fact is that all these bodies are ordained for the living entities by the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the living entity's desires. He gives the living entities freedom to act as they like, but on the other hand, they must accept a body according to the reactions of the activities. Thus, there are different types of bodies. Then there's no choice. Now there is choice. Now we can choose whether we want to practice devotional service seriously or whether we want to do half devotional service, half material activities. So all choices we have now. But once we make the choice and we perform the activity, then the reaction, when Prakriti gives reaction, no choice. That time, no choice. Body of dog, have to take. That time one can't say, no, sorry, I don't want this time. No. Have to. One has to face the reaction. No choice. Choice is there before. Now the choice is there. Before acting, there is choice. Once action is done, reaction is definite. So Prabhupada is quoting the same verse, Sarvasya Chamriti Sanvishnu Matasmati. Therefore, the last sentence, the best course, therefore, is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and act according to his desire. One who does so is liberated. 14th verse. Yadva chitantyam gunakarma dhamabhi sudustareirvatsavayam suyojitaha sarve vahamo balamishvaraya prota nasiva dvipade chatushpadaha.
My dear boy, all of us are bound by the Vedic injunctions to the divisions of Varnashram according to our qualities and work. These divisions are difficult to avoid because they are scientifically arranged. We must therefore carry out our duties of Varnashram Dharma, like bulls obliged to move according to the directions of a driver pulling on ropes knotted in their noses.
This is an analogy which is given in so many places. This analogy is given of the bull that is pulled by the rope tied to the nose. So when the person pulls the rope, the bull has to move in that direction, no choice, because it pains. So similarly, everyone is tied, everyone is forced to follow the Vedic injunctions. If one does not follow, what is the result? What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita? If one doesn't follow the Shastric injunctions, what happens? Yes, Yashastra vidamutsrija vartate kamakarata na sasiddham avapnoti na sukam na param gatim. That will be the result. So therefore, everyone has to follow. And then our Varnashram system ultimately is meant to please Vishnu. Prabhupada is quoting Varnashram Charavata Purushena Param Vishnur Aradyate Panta. So that is the ultimate goal of the Varnashram. So Prabhupada is talking about Varnashram Dharma here, 4 Varnas, 4 Ashramas. But the ultimate goal of all of them is to please the Supreme Lord. So the Prabhupada writes, almost towards the end of the purport, the example cited in this verse is that bulls tied by ropes in their nostrils move according to the directions of the driver. Similarly, if we move according to the instructions of the Vedas, the perfect paths for our lives will be set. Otherwise, if we do not move in that way but act according to our whimsical ideas, our lives will be spoiled by confusion and will end in despair. So Srila Prabhupada says at that time, so many people were becoming confused, hippies. Why? Because no knowledge about the Shastric injunctions. They were not following. So then that will be the result. Actually, because people at the present moment are not following the instructions of the Vedas, they're all confused. We must therefore accept this instruction by Lord Brahma to Priyavrat as the factual scientific direction leading to the success of life. And then he's quoting the same verse, Yashastra Vidyamutstricha. 15th verse. Isha Vishishtam hi avarundhamahenga dukkam sukham va gunakarma sangat asthaya tattad yatayunktanathas chakshush matandha iva niyamanaha.
My dear Priyavrat, according to our association with different modes of material nature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives us our specific bodies and the happiness and distress we achieve. One must therefore remain situated as he is and be conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exactly as a blind man is led by a person who has eyes with which to see.
So, Supreme Lord, according to our own activities, we get different bodies. And in different bodies, we get sukham, dukkam. Dukkam, sukham va, guna karma sangat. Because of the association of the gunas, one gets different bodies. And in each body, one is destined to get specific quota of happiness and distress. One just cannot avoid. And so therefore, one must be conducted by the Supreme Lord. And then, how exactly like a blind man is led by a person who has eyes with which to see. Chakshush mata andha iva niyamanaha. So why this analogy is given of the person, of the blind person being led by a person who has eyes? Why is this analogy being given?
So when you may not understand exactly what is orchestrated by the Lord, but if you follow what I'm saying, then everything will be auspicious.
Okay, good points. Something more? Keshav?
Lord is beyond mode, we are within the mode. So we should follow.
So?
We should follow Lord.
Okay, because we're within mode. What is the problem?
We won't be able to see the clearly what is.
Okay, we cannot
Real
understand
situation.
things clearly. Okay, so we should follow. Okay, good point. Something more? Ignorant follow person should follow one who's enlightened. Okay.
Same thing that Upadekshanti te ganam gyaninas tattva darshan. So they know the truth, so we can approach them, and it's like Shabda Praman, blind.
Yes. So this analogy is given because when the blind person follows someone who has eyes, so sometimes the person may take him through a path which is very hot. And the blind person may wonder why this person is taking me through this hot path. He could have taken me through some cool, shady place. But there could be a reason for that, right? Maybe the cool path is full of thorns. Therefore, he is taking him through the sunny path. But if the blind person doesn't have faith in the person who has eyes, what will happen? If he doesn't have faith and he doesn't follow the person who has eyes, what will happen? Okay, he'll argue and he will not follow wholeheartedly. Yes.
He will leave him in between and may go to other route.
Yes, he may leave him in between. He goes through some other route and then and put himself in trouble. Ultimately, that is the result. Ultimately, he'll put himself in trouble. That is what will happen if it does not have faith in the person who has eyes. So he has to have faith. That's exactly what Brahma is saying. You have to have faith in me because I am representative of the Supreme Lord. So having that faith is very important. I think so. We have Vishnu Chittakur's commentary on this 15th verse here. And there he explains this, I suppose. Yes. Okay, somebody read this.
We are dependent even in enjoying the results of karma. O Priyavarth, Anga, we receive happiness and distress as given by the Lord. But this is not some fault in the Lord. It arises from our attachment to actions connected to the gunas. Among all oxen which are equal as far as common characteristics are concerned, according to the amount of good or bad actions, their master gives them rice with milk and ghee and puts them the best staples, or gives them rough chickpeas and dal, or grass and corn. Or he may put them outside in the mud and sun without food, beat them and scold them, and feed them straw and leaves. In what manner should we accept these results? Whatever the master gives us as good or bad results, only according to our good and bad qualities, we should accept asthaya.
That volume should be slightly reduced.
What faults is there in the master? We should accept this with faith. One should see this as a good quality in the Lord. An example is given. Will the blind man scold the man with vision who, while leading him to the path, takes him on the path full of burning sun instead of on the shady path, because he sees thorns on the shady path? The man with sight is the well-wisher of the blind man. The person with faith will praise the Lord.
Okay, so two analogies is given. The first analogy is giving is about the ox. So either he may give rice with milk and ghee and puts them in very nice, comfortable goshala. Or, so three levels he is giving. So one is first class treatment. Second is chickpeas and dal or grass, corn. Here we get corn every day. So this is the second category, and third category is hot sun, beating, scolding. Only some dry straw. So three levels of treatment. So the ox may wonder, so they're given three types of treatment. So somebody who's getting third class treatment may think, Are, we all are ox only. Ek hi jati ke sab. Then why different treatment? The same thing applies to humans also, correct? Everyone is human being. But we find, anyway, just reminds me of, even among dogs, there is so much variety. So we see some dogs, they're going in the cars. And they have all first class treatment. And Prabhupada writes in some purport, the rich man even leaves all his fortune for the dog after he dies, because nobody else is there. And some dogs, street dogs, such pathetic condition. Same species, we see variety. And similarly amongst humans also we see. Somebody is born so rich, all facilities, and some person is struggling for even one meal a day. Is it injustice on part of the Lord? No. It is all based on one's own actions. It's all based on one's own actions. One cannot blame the Lord. So it is all according to guna karma sangat. It is all according to the influence of the modes. How we have associated with the different modes and how we have acted. On the basis of that, one is given all these different bodies with different conditions and different levels of happiness and distress, which cannot be changed. So Srila Prabhupada explains that how the quota of happiness and distress cannot be changed. Anyone knows what example Prabhupada gives? What was it?
There was some PhD person, but he was selling soaps. He was making soaps and selling soaps in Allahabad. Prabhupada tells.
Correct. This also, yes, this is also one good example. Prabhupada talks about one, PhD, did PhD in chemistry, I suppose. But he didn't get a job. So no job. So he was making some soaps and going door to door selling soaps. And on the other hand, there was one businessman who was illiterate, Anguta Chap. He can't even sign, but he has crores of rupees. Just sitting, crores of rupees. And then Srila Prabhupada gives the example that he says, I've seen 50 years back in Bombay, there were people on the footpath. And now also there are people on the footpath. You can't change. Government is trying so many efforts. So Prabhupada says they are talking about Daridra Narayan Seva. Why there are Daridras still? So even if such people, government makes some houses and gives them, what they do? They'll rent it or sell it and they will continue to stay on the footpath. Why? Karma. They cannot change it. Nobody can change it. Because that is how Paramatma dictates. So even though government may give house, Paramatma dictates from within, hey, sell the house. That's how Paramatma gives karma. That's what Brahma is explaining here. Ultimately, that's how the Lord is controlling everyone. And Prabhupada says, I thought that poor people on the footpath are there only in India. But then when I went to US, I see there are people on the footpath. On the footpath, in the benches, in the park, police is kicking on their face till they're lying there. And they belong to rich families. But why? Karma. That's how karma acts. Nobody can avoid these things. Nobody can avoid. And so the other analogy that Brahma himself is giving here is that yes, so one has to have faith in the person who has eyes. The blind man needs to have faith. So in the same way, one needs to have faith in the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Lord's representative. That's very important. So these days, we find many people, many devotees also have a great challenge with faith. Because that's one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Prabhupada has written in first canto, first verse, 10th, first canto, first chapter, 10th verse. Which verse? Symptoms of Kali Yuga. In that purport, Srila Prabhupada has written, this age is surcharged. Prabhupada has written, surcharged with faithlessness. Very difficult because in Kali Yuga, every person is simply trying to cheat the other person. So much of exploitation. Therefore, people don't have faith in anyone. And so then when we come to devotional service, we carry the same baggage. And therefore, then after coming to devotional service also, the same problem. Putting faith in someone becomes a big problem. but there is no alternative. So just like, that's what Brahmaji is saying. Brahmaji is trying to convince Privrat, you have to put faith in me because I am representative of the Supreme Lord. That's what Brahmaji is saying. So similarly, whomever we are following, we need to put that faith, seeing the connection with the Supreme Lord. We have to see that connection with the Supreme Lord. Then we can put faith. That's why Brahma, right in the beginning, he says, I am not coming here whimsically. I am coming as representative of the Supreme Lord. Right in the beginning, he clarifies that point. And having that faith in our own authorities, spiritual masters, seeing that connection, that is very important. So see, the Siddhanta of the Shastra has to be appreciated and followed. So there is no point in seeing the faults of the person. There is no point. The Siddhanta of the Shastra has to be followed. That is what is most important. That is what Brahma is saying over here. Just like, Prabhupada also gives this example. So just like there is policeman on the street. The policeman on the street, he may be a poor man, right? He doesn't get big salary. Correct? Why even the millionaire has to stop his car when the policeman shows the hand? Huh? Because he's representing the government. So then the millionaire cannot say, "Arey, ye kaun hai ye?" He cannot say that, right? No, he has to follow because he sees the connection. He has to see the connection. He may be poor man, dull man, or whoever he may be. But the fact is, he has been empowered by the government to do that job, and therefore even the rich man has to stop. Yesterday, Maharaj also same thing he was telling in the class, if you remember. You heard, no, yesterday? Maharaj was telling the same thing. Somebody has been given that service as an authority, and once I accept subordination under that authority, I have to follow. I cannot argue why to follow. There is no question of argument. Of course, you can give suggestion and you can discuss whatever, but ultimately one has to follow. Because he's been given that service. By whom? By his higher authorities. They have given that service. And ultimately the whole parampara goes where? Krishna. So seeing that connection is very important. You see the person's connection with the Supreme Lord. And therefore the instruction that he is giving, we must consider it as good as instruction of the Supreme Lord. That time there is no point in arguing, "Arey, why should I follow? He has this fault, he has that fault." That is none of our business. That is none of our business. He has been given that service and he is supposed to instruct us, and our business is to follow. That is the end of the story. Yes, bro. Well, that is a special case. That was the question. There Prabhupada writes. That is what Prabhupada writes. That is only one instruction which can be disobeyed for higher purpose. Not just like that. Yeah, that's true. Anyway, we're talking about general principles. These are special cases. But what Brahma is talking, that principle we are discussing. So So one has to have faith. Just like that's why the example is being given. And that's what Vishwanath Chakravarti is explaining that example. So when the person is taking the blind man through some sunny path, he cannot argue, "Arey, what is this? How you're taking me through this path?" There's no point arguing. You're blind. You can't see. How can you argue? It's useless. So similarly, Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. We are also blind. So we have to accept, we have to have faith. So if we don't have faith, then it is just like that blind man. He doesn't follow, then he lands in trouble. Somebody can just. So that is why this analogy is being given. So definitely this is a very pertinent problem these days. And in so many places, wherever I go, devotees have this question. How can we put faith in our authorities? This is a common problem, common question everywhere. And this is our standard answer, what Brahmaji is telling here. See the connection with the Supreme Lord. Then the Supreme Lord will speak through that person. Correct? Just like that man who suggested to Srila Prabhupada, instead of magazines, write books. Who was he? Some bus conductor or someone. But when Srila Prabhupada heard that, how Srila Prabhupada took it? My spiritual master is speaking through him. So Krishna can speak through anyone if we have faith. So that is what is being said over here. Okay, few sentences from the purport. In the beginning, Prabhupada says, this we cannot change, happiness and distress, we cannot change. For the happiness and the distress are ordained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in accordance with whose decision we have received our bodies. Since we cannot avoid the plan of the Supreme Godhead, we must agree to be directed by Him, just as a blind man is led by a person who has eyes. Under any circumstances, if we remain in the condition allotted to us by the Supreme Lord and follow His instructions, we will become perfect. Follow His instruction, will become perfect. And then he talks about the instructions of the Supreme Lord, Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto. And then further down he says, if anyone from any division of life surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and follows His instructions, his life will be successful. The previous verse has given the analogy of bulls moving under the direction of the driver of a bullock cart. The bulls, being completely surrendered to the driver, remain wherever he wants to place them and eat whatever he wants them to eat. Similarly, being completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we should not aspire for happiness or regret distress. We must be satisfied with the position allotted to us by the Lord. We should follow the path of devotional service and not be dissatisfied with the happiness and distress He has given. So ultimately, whatever the Lord does for everyone is perfect. Because He is Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, He knows what is best for every living entity. And then he quotes Hare Nama, Hare Nama. And then after that, everyone should be given the chance to hear the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for thus one will gradually come to understand his real position in life and be elevated to the transcendental position about the mode of goodness. Thus all impediments to his progress will be cut to pieces. In conclusion, therefore, we must be satisfied in whatever position we have been put by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We discussed this point yesterday about satisfaction. And we should try to engage ourselves in His devotional service, then our lives will be successful. 16. Mukto pitavad bibhrityat swadeham arabdhamashnan abhimana shunyaha yathanubhutam pratiyata nidraha kim tvanya dehaya gunan navrinte.
Even if one is liberated, he nevertheless accepts the body he has received according to his past karma. Without misconception, however, he regards his enjoyment and suffering due to that karma the way an awkward person regards a dream he had while sleeping. He thus remains steadfast and never works to achieve another material body under the influence of three modes of material nature.
Yes, so here Priyavrat may argue that why I should simply follow. I am already on the liberated platform. Priyavrat may argue like that. So therefore Brahmaji is saying, even if one is liberated, one still needs to follow. One still has to accept the body he has received and accept the happiness and distress, because that is what is destined for him. That is his prarabdha. He has to go through it. But the difference is what? The difference is the liberated person is not affected by it. As long as one has material body, one has to face the consequences, right? Even if one is on a liberated platform, just like Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada also had to go through so much of suffering on the bodily platform, so much disease and so many other things. Why? Body is there. As long as body is there, suffering will be there. One cannot avoid disease, old age, ultimately death. One has to go through all these things, even if one is on the liberated platform. So therefore, one cannot avoid these things. But the difference is, the person on the liberated platform, he considers all these things just like a dream. And therefore, he is not very much affected by all this happiness and distress that he goes through. As Prabhupada writes, the difference between a liberated and conditioned soul is that conditioned soul is under the concept of bodily life, whereas a liberated person knows that he is not the body, but a spirit different from the body. Priyavrat might have thought that although conditioned soul is forced to act according to the laws of nature, why should he, who was far advanced in spiritual understanding, accept the same kind of bondage and impediments to spiritual advancement? To answer this doubt, Lord Brahma informed him that even those who are liberated do not resent accepting in the present body the results of their past activities. While sleeping, one dreams many unreal things, but when he awakens, he disregards them and makes progress in factual life. Similarly, a liberated person, one who has completely understood that he is not the body but a spirit soul, disregards past activities performed in ignorance and performs his present activities in such a way that they produce no reactions. So he's not affected by the past activities and the past reactions, the happiness and distress. He's not so much affected by that, focused on that. Rather, he's more interested in acting in such a way now so that he does not get future reactions. So further down, a liberated person, therefore, does not think about whatever he has ignorantly done in the past. Instead, he acts in such a way that he will not produce another body by fruitive activities. And then he calls this Mam Chivabjarina. And then after that, regardless of what we have done in our past lives, if we engage ourselves in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord in this life, we will always be situated in the Brahmabhuta liberated state, free from reactions, and will not be obliged to accept another material body. 17. Bhayam pramattasya vaneshapi syad yata saste sahashat sapatnaha jitendriyasyatmarater budasya grihashrama kimno karotyavadyam.
Even if he goes from forest to forest, one who is not self-controlled must always fear material bondage because he is living with 6 co-wives, the mind and the knowledge-acquiring senses. Even householder life, however, cannot harm a self-satisfied learned man who has conquered his senses.
So here Brahma is trying to tell Priyavrat, see, even if you remain in the forest, that's what he wanted to do, remain in the forest. Brahma is saying, even if you remain in the forest, but if your mind and senses are not are uncontrolled, then you're living with 6 co-wives. He wants to remain renounced, right? So therefore Brahma is saying, even if you're in the forest, you're living with 6 wives. But on the other hand, one can be in household life and be renounced if he has conquered his mind and senses. So that is how Brahma is trying to encourage him to take up to the householder life. As Prabhupada writes, of course, he's quoting Narottam Das Thakur, Griheva Vanite Thaki Ha Gauranga Valika. For one who has not controlled his senses, going to the forest to become a so-called yogi is meaningless, because his uncontrolled mind and senses are going with him. He cannot achieve anything even by giving up household life and staying in the forest. Just like beginning of 3rd chapter, what Krishna says? 3rd chapter, 6th verse, right? Yes. How does it begin? Yes. Karmendriyani sanyaya ya asate manasa smaran indriyathan vimudatma mithyacharasa uchyate. So apparently he may be renounced, not performing any activities, but the mind is going towards sense gratification. Then he'll simply become pretender. That's what Brahmaji is trying to tell. Therefore, formerly many mercantile men from the upcountry of India used to go to Bengal, and thus there's a familiar saying, if you go to Bengal, your fortune will go with you. Our first concern, therefore, should be to control the senses, and since the senses cannot be controlled unless engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, our most important duty is to engage the senses in devotional service. Rishikesh. And then he gives the example of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a householder, but still he was engaged in his devotional service or expanding the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he's quoting Prabhupada Saraswati, which he quoted many times. Durdantendriya kala sarpa patali protkatadam strayati. So the devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement move within this material world, but because their senses are fully engaged in the service of the Lord, they're always aloof from the material world. They're always living in a transcendental position. So the main thing is to engage the mind and senses in the Lord's service. 18. Yashat sapatnan vijigisha mano griheshu nirvishayate purvam atyeti durga shrita urjitarin kshineshu kamam vichared vipashyat.
One who is situated in household life and who systematically conquers his mind and 5 sense organs is like a king in his fortress who conquers his powerful enemies. After one has been trained in household life and his lusty desires have decreased, he can move anywhere without danger.
Yes, so here Brahmaji is saying that if one has controlled mind and senses, then even household life is not a problem. Then he's like living in a fort because his mind and senses are controlled. And then Prabhupada talks about the Vedic system of 4 varnas and 4 ashramas is very scientific, and its entire purpose is to enable one to control the senses. Okay, that's what he's explaining. And that's the whole purpose of the varnashram system. So therefore, initially one is trained as a brahmachari to control the mind and senses. Then even when one enters into the grihastha ashram, one still continues to have that control mind and senses, even in the grihastha ashram. And then it becomes easier for such a trained grihastha to renounce. So that is the whole purpose of the varnashram system. So, and the last sentence of the purport, Prabhupada says, as a king in a strong fortress can conquer powerful enemies, so a householder in grihastha ashram, household life, can conquer the lusty desires of youth and be very secure when he takes vanaprastha and sannyas. 19. Tvam tvabja nabhangri saroja kosha durga shrito nirjita shatsapatnaha Bhungshveha bhogan purushati dishtan vimukta sangaha prakritim bhajasva.
Lord Brahma continued, my dear Privrat, seek shelter inside the opening in the lotus feet of the Lord, whose navel is also like a lotus. Thus conquer the 6 sense organs, the mind and knowledge acquiring senses. Accept material enjoyment because the Lord extraordinarily has ordered you to do this. You will thus always be liberated from material association and be able to carry out the Lord's order in your constitutional position.
So therefore, Brahma is instructing Priyavrat that you can remain in household life, but seek shelter of the lotus feet of the Lords. So if you do that, then even if you stay in household life, you'll be in the liberated position. So Prabhupada is talking about karmis, jnanis, yogis. And then he says, Lord Brahma herein advises Priyavrat to remain transcendental in the fortress, not of family life, but of the lotus feet of the Lord. Abja nabhangri saroja. When a bumblebee enters the opening of a lotus flower and drinks its honey, it is fully protected by the petals of the lotus. The bee is undisturbed by sunshine and other external influences. Similarly, one who always seeks shelter at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead is protected from all dangers. So, what does it mean to seek shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord? What does it mean to seek shelter? Taking shelter of holy name, okay. Following whose instructions? Mine. Following the Lord's instructions. Yes. But a little more elaboration. How to follow? Yes, with determination, unhesitatingly. Prabhupada has written this in other purports. One must unhesitatingly, ungrudgingly follow. Then one will get the benefit. So, as we were discussing, having that faith, yasya deve parabhaktir, yatha deve tatha guru tasyeta katita yartha prakashanti mahatmanaha. So, unto those who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master, all the imports of Vedic knowledge are revealed to such a person. So Srila Prabhupada clarifies that further on. He's quoting the Samashruta Ye Padapalaplam. And after that, he says, our actual duty is to carry out the supreme order of the personality of Godhead. If we are fixed in our determination to carry out the supreme order of the Lord, we are always secure, regardless of where we are situated, whether in hell or in heaven. So, the only business is to carry out the order of the spiritual master, whether in hell or in heaven. So, that should be our determination. So, therefore, Lord Brahma advised Priyavrat, be situated in your original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. That is our main position. If you carry out his orders, you will never fall even in the midst of material enjoyments. That's an important point. If you carry out his orders, you will never fall even in the midst of material enjoyment. Material enjoyment achieved by dint of one's fruitive activities differs from material enjoyment given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee sometimes appears to be in a very opulent position, but he accepts that position to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a devotee is never affected by material influence. So Prabhupada is saying, the devotees in the Krishna conscious movement are preaching all over the world in accordance with the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have to meet many karmis, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are unaffected by material influences. He has blessed them. And then he's quoting this. Kabuna badibe tumara vishaya taranga punarapiye thani pabe mora sange. This is who's telling whom? Yes, Mahaprabhu telling Kurma Brahman. A sincere devotee who engages in the service of the Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by preaching his cult all over the world will never be affected by Vishaya Taranga, material influences. On the contrary, in due course of time, he will return to the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and will thus have perpetual association with him. Therefore, what is most important is to follow the instructions given by the Supreme Lord, by the spiritual master, and that's how one will receive the mercy, and that mercy is what will protect us from the Vishaya Taranga, from the material influences. Therefore, we have quoted this, 3rd Canto, 24th chapter, 13th verse. Who's speaking to whom? This is between a father and a son. And yes, Brahma speaking to Kardamuni. Read.
Sons ought to render service to their father exactly to this extent. One should obey the command of his father or spiritual master with due deference, saying, "Yes, sir." Purport. Two words in this verse are very important. One is pitari and another word is guru. The son or disciple should accept the words of his spiritual master and father without hesitation. Whatever the father and the spiritual master order should be taken without argument. Yes, there should be no instance in which disciple or the son says, "This is not correct. I cannot carry it out." When he says that he is fallen, the father and the spiritual master are on the same platform because a spiritual master is the second father. The higher classes are called Dvija, twice born. Whenever there is a question of birth, there must be a father. The first birth is made possible by actual father, and the second birth is made possible by the spiritual master.
Yes. Continue.
Sometimes the father and the spiritual master may be the same man, and sometimes they are different men. In any case, the order of the father or the order of the spiritual master must be carried out without hesitation, with an immediate yes. There should be no argument. This is a real service to the father and to the spiritual master. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has stated that the order of the spiritual master is the life and soul of the disciples. As a man cannot separate his life from his body, a disciple cannot separate the order of the spiritual master from his life. If a disciple follows the instruction of the spiritual master in that way, he is sure to become perfect. This is confirmed in the Upanishads. The import of Vedic instruction is revealed automatically only to one who has implicit faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and in his spiritual master. One may be materially considered an illiterate man, but if he has faith in the spiritual master as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the meaning of scriptural revelation is immediately manifested before him.
Who's the example of that? One may be materially considered illiterate. Yes, the South Indian Brahmin who was illiterate, but he had full realization of the Supreme Lord. Why? Faith in the order of the spiritual master. That faith is very important. So, one may even be illiterate, cannot even read the scripture, but still all the imports, all the realizations of the scripture will be revealed. Who will reveal? Who will reveal? Paramatma. Paramatma will reveal everything. So, anyone can say, "I have faith." Anyone can say, "Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki jai," all that one can say. But how much faith one has will be shown by one's actions. So once some devotees asked Jananamas Prabhu, you can see even now if you go to Mayapur, you'll see Jananamas Prabhu, even now when he is almost 80 years old, quite sickly, but still every day he will personally, physically come and sit in the Bhagavatam class. Even now you can go and see. So some years back, somebody asked him, "Prabhu, why, even though the speaker may be so much junior to him, but still he will come?" You can see that. Till date he follows that. Till date. So somebody asked him once, "Prabhu, why every day you have to come?" You know what answer he gave? Anybody knows? Very simple answer. Srila Prabhupada has told. Srila Prabhupada has given instruction. Every day I should hear Bhagavatam class. That is called Dhrida Shraddha, firm faith in the instruction of the spiritual master. That's all. And that instruction need not be repeated also. It was given when, we don't know, maybe 50 years back. But even till date, you can see that. That is faith. So, that is the meaning of having faith. It doesn't require one to do something very fabulous, extraordinary. But this shows the faith. There is one lecture. So during Prabhupada's time, some devotees were not at, because Srila Prabhupada was not there all the time to give class. So obviously other disciples would give. And so all are God brothers that time. Almost same age, almost same time. So then devotees were not attending, thinking, what is the, he's like equal, what he'll speak. So there is one lecture where Srila Prabhupada says, and yesterday Trivikram Maharaj also was saying that once Prabhupada told him to speak and Srila Prabhupada was hearing. He was telling, no? He was saying it was so embarrassing and awkward to speak in front of Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada is saying in a lecture, you can hear it. Prabhupada is saying, I myself am attending the classes of my disciples. Don't try to become better Paramahamsa than your Guru Maharaj. There's one lecture. So, this is all faith. I'll just, before the break, I'll tell you a quick pastime. Maybe you've heard it, about Srila Prabhupada's faith in the words of his spiritual master. Of course, his entire life was simply an exhibition of that faith which he had towards the spiritual master. But one pastime very graphically indicates this. So, this is told by Shrutakirti Prabhu. So, 1971 or maybe 72, when Srila Prabhupada first came to India, Prabhupada came in 1970, he came with his disciples to India. I suppose this was 71. So when he came to Mayapur that time, so of course in Mayapur nothing was there at that time. So he went to meet his god brother, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And so they have a nice conversation on that. After some time, Srila Prabhupada tells Sridhar Maharaj, Maharaj, now preaching is expanding in the West. So many people are becoming devotees, so many books being distributed. So you please come to the West. And you also preach. We will provide all facilities to you. Whatever you require, all facilities will provide. And pointing to Shrutakirti Prabhu, this boy, he will become your servant. So Shrutakirti Prabhu is taken aback. Arey, what is this? Prabhupada wants to give me up. But he was very surprised that why Srila Prabhupada, after practically single-handedly starting the movement and expanding the movement, is now ready to almost give everything to Sridhar Maharaj. But anyways, Shrutakirti Prabhu never asked too many questions, so he kept quiet. So then, later on, after Srila Prabhupada passed away from this world, Shrutakirti Prabhu once met Harishori Prabhu. And so both of them have been servants of Srila Prabhupada. So they were having some conversation, discussion of Srila Prabhupada's pastimes. At that time, when Shrutakirti Prabhu told this pastime, Harishori Prabhu said, a similar pastime happened with him also. This was in 1976, much later when the movement had expanded even more. And then Harishori Prabhu said exactly the same thing happened. Srila Prabhupada and they went to meet Sridhar Maharaj, and then same thing. Prabhupada told, please come to the West, we will provide you all facilities, everything will be yours, and this boy will become your servant. But Harishwari Prabhu was a little more bold. So Harishwari Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada, why Srila Prabhupada at this time when you have done everything, why you're ready to hand over everything to Sridhar Maharaj? So Srila Prabhupada replied in 1936. What is the significance of 1936? Yes. On 31st of December 1936, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur disappeared. So few months before Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's disappearance, he had once told Srila Prabhupada, when he met Srila Prabhupada, he told him that this Sridhar Maharaj, he's a very wonderful devotee and very sincere, and he's a very good preacher, but the only thing is he's quite shy to preach. So please help him and provide facilities to help him preaching. This was what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur did. That's it. Just because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur told him that much, Srila Prabhupada took that as an instruction. And therefore, again and again, he was requesting Sridhar Maharaj just to follow the instruction of his Guru Maharaj. That was how Srila Prabhupada was so pakka in following the instructions of his spiritual master. And that is why so much of empowerment, so much of mercy flowed, because he was so determined to follow the instructions of his spiritual master. That is how the mercy flows. Okay, fine. So we'll take a break. Hare Krishna. So that's the end of Brahmaji's instructions to Priyavrat. And then we'll see in next few verses are remaining for this chapter. Priyavrat, of course, follows those instructions. And then we'll move on to the next chapter. Hare Krishna. Sri Shukdev Goswami continued. After thus being fully instructed by Lord Brahma, who is the spiritual master of the three worlds, Priyavrat, who is his own position being inferior, offered obeisances, accepted the order, and carried it out with great respect. So as Prabhupada writes, Sri Priyavrat was the grandson of Lord Brahma. Therefore, according to social etiquette, his position was inferior. It is the duty of the inferior to carry out the order of the superior with a great respect. Just now we saw that Brahma speaking to Karda Muni. So and same thing here also. It's the duty of the inferior to carry out the order of the superior with great respect. Priyavrat therefore immediately said, yes, sir, I shall carry out your order. And therefore Priyavrat is described as a Mahabhagvat, a great devotee. The duty of a great devotee is to carry out the order of the spiritual master or the spiritual master of the spiritual master in the parampara system. So that is the greatness of a devotee. So if somebody wants to be a great devotee, then he has to do this. So that's what the duty of a great devotee is, to carry out the order. Evam parampara praptam. Devotee of the Lord always considers himself a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. So therefore, in that context, we had also put this well-known verse. Yeah. Hare tava padeka mula dasanudaso bhavitasmi bhuyah manasmareta supatir gunamste grinitava karma karotu kayah. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, may I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet. O Lord of my life, may I again become their servant so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes, my words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your Lordship. And the purport Prabhupada begins by saying, this verse gives the sum and substance of devotional life. One must first become a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Das Anudas. Okay, fine. So Priyavrat, he followed. Okay, please read the next few translations. 21.
Lord Brahma was then worshipped by Manu, who respectfully satisfied him as well as he could. Priyavrat and Narada also looked upon Brahma with no tinges of resentment. Having engaged Priyavrat in accepting his father's request, Lord Brahma returned to his abode, Satyalok, which is indescribable by the endeavor of mundane mind or words.
Okay, so here we can see both Priyavrat and Narad, they looked upon Brahma with no tinges of resentment. So they were not grudging, hey, what is this Brahma, what instruction he gave. So they were not in that mood. They were happy. They accepted the instruction without any resentment, grudges, and they happily carried it out. As Prabhupada in the purport he says, both Priyavrat and Narad were exalted personalities who knew how to respect Lord Brahma. Therefore, instead of looking upon Brahma with resentment, they very feelingly offered him their respects. And then he's describing about Brahmalok, Avan Manasa Gochara. Next.
Swayambhu Manu, with the assistance of Lord Brahma, thus fulfilled his desires. With the permission of the great sage Narada, he delivered to his son the governmental responsibility for maintaining and protecting all the planets of the universe. He thus achieved relief from the most dangerous poisonous ocean of material desires.
Yes, so Swayambhu Manu, he was happy that he could give the kingdom to Priyavrat. In the second paragraph of the purport, Prabhupada writes, so he's talking about how at present politicians are very eager to take charge of the government, and they engage their men in canvassing from door to get votes to win the post of president or similar exalted office. On the contrary, however, herein we find that King Priyavrat had to be persuaded by Lord Brahma to accept the post of emperor of the entire universe. Similarly, his father Swayambhu Manu felt relieved to entrust the universal government to Priyavrat. That means nobody was interested in this post and position. But they were doing it simply as service. Thus, it is evident that the kings and the executive heads of government in the Vedic age never accepted their positions for sense enjoyment. Such exalted kings, who were known as Raja Rishis, ruled only to maintain and protect the kingdom for the welfare of the citizens. So they didn't want the post and positions to exploit and enjoy. They were simply doing it as a service. The history of Priyavrat and Swayambhu Manu describes how exemplary, responsible monarchs perform the duties of government with disinterest, keeping themselves always aloof from the contamination of material attachment. And the last paragraph, the word Surarshi Vara Anumatena is also significant. Manu entrusted the government to his son with the permission of the great saint Narada. This is particularly mentioned because although Narada wanted Priyavrat to become free from all material affairs, when Priyavrat took charge of the universe by the request of Lord Brahma and Manu, Narada was also very pleased. Okay, so he took permission from Narada, Swayambhu Manu. Now that Brahma has told, finished, now Narada is out of the picture, not like that. So you see all these etiquettes that are being followed because Narada was instructing Priyavrat. So therefore, first of all, Swayambhu Manu takes permission from Narada and then gives the kingdom to Priyavrat. So all these points have to be taken into consideration. So the Bhagavatam not only teaches philosophy, it teaches what? Culture. Srila Prabhupada has written right in the preface to the Bhagavatam, this very important statement. What is written? The Srimad Bhagavatam is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. It's a cultural presentation. Why? Because if there is no culture, then philosophy by itself will have no meaning. Then it will be simply dry philosophy. So we know that. Philosophy without religion will be mental speculation. So it will only be some dry philosophy. Nobody will be inspired to follow. So therefore the culture is very important. The etiquettes, the dealings amongst the devotees, all that is very important. Otherwise, there will be offenses and all that, and nobody will be interested to follow. So here we can see all very respectful dealings you can see between all these devotees, great devotees. So Brahma comes, he gives instruction. There's absolutely no argument, no fighting, no resentment, nothing. And both Narad and Priyavrat, though they were not interested in the kingdom, but still they're ready to follow. And we see how Swayambhu Manu is first taking permission from Narad Muni, then handing kingdom to Priyavrat. So these dealings have to be learnt. 23.
Following the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maharaj Priyavrat fully engaged in worldly affairs. Yet he always thought of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are the cause of liberation from all material attachment. Although Priyavrat Maharaj was completely freed from all material contamination, he ruled the kingdom, he ruled the material world just to honor the orders of his superiors.
Yes, so he had no interest, but just to honor the orders of the superiors. So Prabhupada writes, the words mana vardhano mahatam, just to show honor to superiors, are very significant. Although Maharaj Priyavrat was already a liberated person and had no attraction for material things, he engaged himself fully in governmental affairs just to show respect to Lord Brahma. And that was the only reason, just to show respect to Lord Brahma. Arjuna had also acted in the same way. Arjuna had no desire to participate in political affairs or the fighting at Kurukshetra, but when ordered to do so by the Supreme Lord Krishna, he executed those duties very nicely. One who always thinks of the lotus feet of the Lord is certainly above all the contamination of the material worlds. And then further down, Maharaj Priyavrat therefore was a liberated person and was among the highest of yogis, yet superficially he became the emperor of the universe in accordance with the order of Lord Brahma. Showing respect to his superior in this way was another of his extraordinary qualifications. And then he's quoting this verse, Narayana Parasarve. And then he says, a devotee who is actually advanced is not afraid of anything, provided he has the opportunity to execute the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the proper explanation of why Priyavrat engaged in worldly affairs, although he was a liberated person. Also, only because of this principle does a Mahabhagavat, who has nothing to do with the material world, come down to the second platform of devotional service to preach the glories of the Lord all over the world. Okay, so Mahabhagavata has no interest in preaching. He sees everyone is a devotee. He has no interest in preaching. But still he does preaching. Why? Instruction. So therefore Srila Prabhupada in his lectures also says, we are preaching only for one reason. Because Mahaprabhu has instructed what? Yare deko tare kaho Krishna upadesh amara agnya guru hoi tara e desh. This is Mahaprabhu's instruction, therefore we are preaching. So that is the only reason why a Mahabhagavat preaches. The main purpose is to fulfill the instruction. Okay, you can pass the mic. Read 24.
Thereafter, Maharaj Priyavrat married Bharismati, the daughter of the Prajapati named Vishwakarma. In her, he begot 10 sons equal to him in beauty, character, magnanimity, and other qualities. He also begot a daughter, the youngest of all, named Urjaswati.
So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, since Maharaj Priyavrat was fully trained in transcendental knowledge, he could have returned home and conducted the business of government as a brahmachari. He had no interest to marry. So the main purpose was to rule the kingdom. So he could have ruled the kingdom even as brahmachari. Instead, however, when he returned to household life, he accepted a wife also. The principle is that when one becomes a grihastha, he must live perfectly in that order, which means he must live peacefully with wife and children. Okay. So the Varnashram system has to be followed. This is the meaning. So there is no concept of somebody, as Prabhupada says, bachelor daddy. So there's no concept of simply remaining bachelor. That concept doesn't exist. So either one has to remain as a brahmachari in the ashram of the guru, or one has to enter grihastha ashram, get married, wife and children. So there's nothing in between. And then in the third paragraph, Prabhupada writes, sometimes we are criticized because although I'm a sannyasi, I have taken part in marriage ceremonies of my disciples, It must be explained, however, that since we have started a Krishna conscious society, and since a human society must also have ideal marriages, to correctly establish an ideal society, we must take part in marrying some of its members, although we have taken to the path of renunciation. This may be astonishing to persons who are not very interested in establishing Daiva Varnashram, the transcendental system of 4 social orders and 4 spiritual orders. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, however, wanted to re-establish Daiva Varnashram. In Daiva Varnashram, there cannot be acknowledgement of social status according to birthright. Because in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the determining considerations are guna and karma, qualities and work. It is this Daiva Varnashram that should be established all over the world to continue a perfect society for Krishna consciousness. This may be astonishing to foolish critics, but it is one of the functions of a Krishna conscious society. So yes, so this is also an important aspect. So the point is, Daiva Varnashram means all the ashrams are there. Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, all the ashrams, all centered around pleasing Krishna, satisfying Krishna, Samsiddhir Haritoshna. So that is basically Daiva Varnashram. Okay, 25.
The 10 sons of Maharashtra were named Agnidhara, Idmajiva, Yagyavahu, Mahavira, Hiranyareta, Ghrutuprashta, Savana, Medhatithi, Vitihotra, and Kavi. These are also names of Agni, the fire god.
Next.
3 among these 10, namely Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana, lived in complete celibacy, thus trained in the brahmachari life from the beginning of childhood. They were very conversant with the highest perfection known as the Paramhamsa Ashram.
Read the first paragraph of the purport.
The word Urdhvaretasa in this verse is very significant. Urdhvareta refers to one who can control sex life and who, instead of wasting semen by discharging it, can use this most important substance accumulated in the body to enrich the brain. One who can completely control sex life is able to work wonderfully with his brain, especially in remembering. Thus, students who simply hear Vedic instructions once from their teacher could remember them verbatim without needing to read books, which therefore did not exist in former times.
Prabhupada tells that incident about that Brahmana, you know that incident? About the Brahmana who was hearing a quarrel between 2 people. Know that? So once 2 people were quarreling, there was some fight they were having. And so one person apparently used some harsh words. And so the other person went and complained in the court that this person has used harsh language and all that. So in the court, they need witness. So in the court, the judge asked, so do you have any witness? So the man thought for some time and he said, yes, there were, when the fight was taking place, the quarrel was taking place, a Brahmana was taking bath in the river nearby. So okay, so bring him. So they got the Brahmana. The Brahmana was doing his own business. He was taking bath. But he just happened to hear what these people were talking. But when the Brahmana was brought to the court as a witness, he told the entire conversation what was going on between these 2 people. So that was how sharp they were. Simply by hearing that conversation once, he could remember everything that he heard and he gave witness. So that was how people were so sharp, because of this reason. And therefore, without reading books, no need of books, they were still able to remember everything verbatim. And another significant word is Arbha Bhavat, which means from very childhood. Another meaning is from being very affectionate to children. In other words, Paramhamsa life is dedicated for the benefit of others. Tyaktva tu namasesha mandalapati. Okay, 27.
Thus situated in the renounced order from the beginning of their lives, all three of them.
Okay, so these are three sons of Priyavrat. So three sons of Priyavrat remained celibate.
Thus situated in the renounced order from the beginning of their lives, all three of them completely control the activities of their senses and thus become great saints. They concentrated their mind always upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the resting place of the totality of living entities and who is therefore celebrated as Vasudeva. Lord Vasudeva is the only shelter of those who are actually afraid of material existence. By constantly thinking of his lotus feet, these three sons of Maharaj Priyavat became advanced in pure devotional service. By the prowess of their devotional service, they could directly perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is situated in everyone's heart as the super soul and realize that there was qualitatively no difference between themselves and him.
Okay, so that was how they became Paramhamsas. Prabhupada talks about the four stages of sannyas: Kutichak, Baudak, Parivajkacharya, and Paramhamsa. Okay, fine, go ahead. 28.
In his other wife, Maharaj Priyavat begot three sons named Uttama, Tamasa, and Raivata. All of them later took charge of Manvantara millenniums.
Okay, so they all became Manus this is third, fourth, and fifth Manvantaras. Okay, go ahead.
After Kavi, Mahavir, and Savan were completely trained in Paramahamsa stage of life, Maharaj Priyavrat ruled the universe for 11 Arbudas of year.
So what is that Arbuda? Prabhupada writes in the word-to-word meaning. 1 Arbuda equals, how much is that? 10 crores. And like that, 11 Arbudas. So how much that calculation? Hmm? 110 crores. So that much time he ruled.
Whenever he was determined to fix his arrow upon his bowstring with his two powerful arms, all opponents of the regulative principles of religion of life would flee from his presence in fear of the unparalleled prowess he displayed in ruling the universe. He greatly loved his wife Barismati, and with the increase of the days, their exchange of nuptial love also increased. By her feminine behavior, as she dressed herself, walked, got up, smiled, and laughed, and glanced about, Queen Barismati increased his energy. Thus, although he was a great soul, he appeared lost in the feminine conduct of his wife. He behaved with her just like an ordinary man, but actually he was a great soul.
So Prabhupada is explaining this in his purport, why he behaved like that. So in the second paragraph of his purport, he writes, to maintain such a life of strict vigilance, so the king has to maintain vigilance to see that everyone is performing their respective duties. To maintain such a life of strict vigilance, one needs encouragement from his wife. So in the Varnashram Dharma system, certain classes such as Brahmanas and Sannyasis do not need encouragement from the opposite sex. Kshatriyas and Grihasthas, however, actually need the encouragement of their wives in order to execute their duties. Indeed, a Grihastha or Kshatriya cannot properly execute his responsibilities without the association of his wife. And then he gives the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. He behaved like a perfect Grihastha, and Kshatriyas were allowed to have many wives. Further down, almost towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada writes, in this verse, Eva has twice been used to indicate that Maharaj Priyavrat acted exactly like a henpecked husband and thereby seemed to have lost his sense of human responsibility. Actually, however, he was fully conscious of his position as a spirit soul although he seemingly behaved like an acquiescent karmi husband. Maharaj Prevrat thus ruled the universe for 11 arbudas of years. Okay, so the word Iva means he behaved like a henpecked husband, but actually he was just doing his duties as a grihastha. It was not that he became henpecked, but he was simply performing his duties. Okay, 30.
While so excellently ruling the universe, King Privrat once became dissatisfied with the circumambulation of the most powerful sun god. Encircling Sumeru hill on his chariot, the sun god illuminates all the surrounding planetary systems. However, when the sun is on the northern side of the hill, the south receives less light, and when the sun is in the south, the north receives less. King Privrat disliked this situation and therefore decided to make daylight in the part of the universe where there was night. He followed the orbit of the sun on a brilliant chariot and thus fulfilled his desire. He could perform such wonderful activities because of the power he had achieved by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So this was the power of Priyavrat Maharaj, that he would create a second sun. So Prabhupada writes in the first paragraph and the end, devotional service is so powerful. When a devotee achieves what he wants to accomplish, it is not by his own mystic power, but by the grace of the master of mystic power, Yogeshwara. Lord Krishna, by his grace, a devotee can accomplish wonderful things unimaginable even to the most powerful scientist. Which scientist can create another sun? No. So therefore Prabhupada is writing that. Unimaginable even to the most powerful scientist. Right. So Krishna empowers his devotee in such amazing ways. And of course, if you see Srila Prabhupada's preaching activities, it all shows that divine empowerment to do something extraordinary in such a short time. So the last paragraph, in between Prabhupada describes about Yasyagnya Brahmati Samvrita Kalachakra. The last paragraph. Although Maharaj Prevrat devised a very powerful chariot as brilliant as the sun, he had no desire to compete with the sun god. For a Vaishnav never wants to supersede another Vaishnav. So it was not simply some material competition out of envy. So that envy cannot exist between Vaishnavas. His purpose was to give abundant benefits in material existence. Srila Vishwanath Thakur remarks that in the months of April and May, the rays of Maharaj Prevrat's brilliant sun were as pleasing as the rays of the moon. So that's how he reduced the temperature of the original sun. And in October and November, both morning and evening, that sun provided more warmth than the sunshine. Because in winter, the original sun is not so bright, correct, to provide warmth. Especially in morning and evening, there is problem, right? So therefore, he provided more warmth in the morning and the evening by his sun. So that is how he was rendering a service. He was not competing with the original sun. He was simply rendering some additional service. In short, Maharaj Prevrat was extremely powerful and his actions extended his power in all directions. So I'm sure most of you may know that famous purport where Prabhupada talks about Vaikuntha competition. This is 7th canto, 5th chapter, text 12. Prabhupada gives that beautiful purport about Vaikuntha competition. You can read that. Okay, we go ahead. 31.
When Priyavrat drove his chariot behind the sun, the rims of his chariot wheels created impressions that later became 7 oceans, dividing the planetary system known as Bhumandal into 7 islands.
Next.
The names of the islands are Jambu, Plaksa, Salmali, Kusha, Krauncha, Saka, and Pushkara. Each island is twice as large as the one preceding it, and each is surrounded by a liquid substance, beyond which is the next island.
So this is described in detail in the later chapters, the cosmology section. 33.
The seven oceans respectively contain salt water, sugarcane juice, liquor, clarified butter, milk, emulsified yogurt, and sweet drinking water. All the islands are completely surrounded by these oceans, and each ocean is equal in breadth to the island it surrounds. Maharaj Priyavrat, the husband of Queen Barismati, gave sovereignty over these islands to his respective sons, namely Agnidra, Idvamajiva, Yagyabahu, Hiranyareta, Gritaprishtha, Medhatithi, and Vitihotra. Thus they all became kings by the order of their father.
Good.
King Priyavrat then gave his daughter Urjaswati in marriage to Sukracharya, who begot in her a daughter named Devayani.
Devya. Next.
My dear king, a devotee who has taken shelter of the dust from the lotus feet of Lord can transcend the influence of the six material webs, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death. And he can conquer the mind and five senses. However, this is not very wonderful for a pure devotee of the Lord, because even a person beyond the jurisdiction of the four castes, in other words, an untouchable, is immediately relieved of bondage to material existence if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once.
So Shukadeva Goswami is saying that yes, a devotee he transcend all this hunger, thirst, all this he can transcend. But he says, what's so surprising about it? Even if one utters the holy name once, he becomes free from bondage. So this we know about the glories of the holy name. So Prabhupada writes, Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit about the activities of King Priyavrat. And since the king might have had doubts about these wonderful, uncommon activities, Shukadeva Goswami reassured him. My dear king, he said, don't be doubtful about the wonderful activities of Priyavrat. For a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is possible because the Lord is also known as Urukrama. And the next paragraph, since the Supreme Lord is all-powerful, he can do things that seem wonderful for a common man. Similarly, a devotee who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord can also do wonderful things unimaginable to the common man by the grace of the dust of those lotus feet. So this all happens by grace. Okay, the other points. And towards the end, Prabhupada is talking about these glories of the holy name. In the subtle body, the mind is predominant, and therefore, if one's mind is always absorbed in remembering the activities of the lotus feet of the Lord, he is to be understood to have already changed his present body and become purified. Therefore, it is irrefutable that a Chandala or any fallen or low-born person can become a Brahmana simply by the method of bona fide initiation. So this Srila Prabhupada also describes in detail in the purport too. Aho bata shvapachoto gariyan yad jivvagre vartate nama tubhyam. So that is similar. Okay, go ahead. 36.
While enjoying his material opulences with full strength and influence, Maharaj Priyavrat once began to consider that although he had fully surrendered to the great saint Narada and was actually on the path of Krishna consciousness, he had somehow become again entangled in the material activities. Thus his mind now became restless and he began to speak in the spirit of renunciation.
Here again, Prabhupada talks about these points we already discussed yesterday. If one falls down, therefore his progress might be checked for a certain time, but it will again become manifest at an opportune moment. Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe, all this we have already discussed yesterday. The last paragraph, Prabhupada is writing, as long as one is in the material world, he has to be under the influence of the modes of material nature. Guna Visarga. So therefore, Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 40th verse. 18th chapter, 40th verse. What does the Lord say? There is no being existing in Yes, there is no being existing in the entire universe who is free from the influence of the modes. That means as long as one has material body, the influence of the modes is going to be there. Therefore, as long as one has material body, one always has to be extremely careful. One can never take it for granted. So it is not that Maharaj Privrat was freed from material influence because he possessed all material opulences. In this material world, both the very poor man and the very rich man are under material influences. Prakrute Kriyamanani. 37.
The king thus began criticizing himself. Alas, how condemned I have become because of my sense gratification. I have now fallen into the material enjoyment, which is exactly like a covered whale. I have had enough. I am not going to enjoy anymore. Just see how I have become like a dancing monkey in the hands of my wife. Because of this, I am condemned.
Okay, so apparently Privrat Maharaj became a little attached to his wife and family life, and so now he's condemning himself. So Prabhupada writes, Maharaj Privrat acted very wonderfully in the material field of activities, but because he was dealing in sense gratification, ruling his kingdom and dancing to the indications of his beautiful wife, he personally condemned himself. So when we think about this example of Maharaj Privrat, we can just consider how degraded is the modern civilization of materialistic advancement. So modern so-called scientists and the materialists are very satisfied because they can construct great bridges, roads and machines. But such activities are nothing comparable to those of Maharaj Privrat. If Maharaj Privrat could condemn himself in spite of his wonderful activities, how condemned we are in our so-called advancement of material civilization. We can conclude that such advancement has nothing to do with the problems of the living entity entangled in the material world. And further down he says, Maharaj Privrat had served the great sage Narada sincerely. Therefore, even though he had accepted material opulences, he cannot be deviated from his own task. He again became Krishna conscious. And after this Nyabhikamana Shastri, such renunciation as Maharaj Privrat is possible only by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We discussed this point yesterday also. Only by the grace of the Lord, it is possible to give up the sense gratification totally. Privrat Maharaj, however, having been completely trained by the great sage Narada, revived his Krishna consciousness in spite of all impediments. Next.
By the grace of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maharaj Priyavrat reawakened to his senses. He divided all his earthly possessions among his obedient sons. He gave up everything, including his wife, with whom he had enjoyed so much sense gratification, and his great and opulent kingdom. And he completely renounced all attachment. His heart, having been cleansed, became place of pastime for Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus he was able to return to the path of Krishna consciousness, spiritual life, and resume the position he had attained by the grace of great Saint Narada.
Prabhupada writes here, our hearts are meant for the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that one should be fully Krishna conscious, thinking of Krishna as he himself advises. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. This should be our only business. And then further down, he talks about Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Such theoretical knowledge will not help us. If we believe that Brahman is the real truth, we have to place within our hearts the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, as Maharaj Ambarish did, Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo. One has to fix the lotus feet of the Lord within his heart, then he gets the strength to be freed from material entanglement. Maharaj Privrat was so strong by the grace of the Lord that even though his beautiful wife was alive, he could give up her association exactly like one who is forced to give up the association of a dead wife. That means he almost considered her dead. Therefore, he could give up that association of his wife. Then he quotes Nadanamna Janamna Sundari. For one who desires to advance in spiritual life, attachment to material opulence, attachment to a beautiful wife are two great impediments. Such attachments are condemned even more than suicide. Therefore, anyone desiring to cross beyond material nations must, by the grace of Krishna, be freed from attachment to women and money. We also discussed this. When Maharaj Privrat became completely free from these attachments, he could again peacefully follow the principles instructed by the great sage Narada. And then few verses glorifying Privrat Maharaj. Read.
There are many famous verses regarding Maharaj Privrat's activity. No one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead could do what Maharaj Privrat has done. Maharaj Privrat dissipated the darkness of night, and with the rims of his great chariot, he excavated 7 oceans.
Next.
To stop the quarreling among different pupils, Maharaj Privrat marked boundaries at rivers and at the edges of mountains and forests so that no one would trespass upon others' property.
Next.
As a great follower and devotee of the sage Narada, Maharaj Privrat considered hellish the opulences he had achieved by the dint of fruity activities and mystic power, whether in the lower or heavenly planetary systems or in human society.
Okay. Thus, in the Bhaktan purports to the 5th canto, 1st chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrat. Any questions?
Regarding the how chapter begins and how there was activity by Privrat. So in the beginning means the overall chapter how Privrat accepted according to the Brahma's instruction that ruling the kingdom is a order by Supreme Personality of Godhead, and later the sun. Generally, the whole creation is done by the Supreme Personality of Godhead only. So the sun is running in a specific way. So Maharaj Privrat had desire to give the light on even in the night. So with these two different activities, I have 2 questions. One is when we are acting in certain managerial role, so that time many times in some activities we have to take some corrective actions, and sometimes we have to just take it okay, it's for my purification, or this is how we have to go. So when we should take action and when we should go ahead thinking that this is for my purification or as desired by Lord. So this is one thing. And another question is with the same theme. Many times, many things happens in the world, in ISKCON society, in our own ashram. And we may have opinion regarding that particular happening, and we may not have. So when I should have some opinion, and when I shouldn't have any opinion, and what is the basis of that? So this is stupid.
Okay, good. Seems to be well thought of questions. Huh? Okay. So regarding Maharaj Priyavrat, and so he took up the governance of the kingdom on the order of Brahma, and then he created the second sun. As we read in the purports, the second sun was created not to compete with the original sun created by the Supreme Lord, but it was to render some service to the citizens, correct? To give warmth and cold as and when required. So it was done as a service. So it was not contrary to the instructions of the Supreme Lord, because the ultimate instruction of the Supreme Lord for a Kshatriya is to give protection to citizens. So this creation of the second sun also was in the same line, to give protection to the citizens and to serve them. So, so as far as your first question regarding I'm forgetting exactly what is.
We hold some managerial role in when to take action and when to just accept as our own purification or desired by Lord.
Okay, fine. So when to accept as for purification, when to take action. One thing which is a common principle by which we always function is under guidance. That's always a principle. So therefore, whether to take action, not take action, we can take guidance from senior devotees. Another important principle on the basis of Shastra, when it comes to something personal where only I will be affected, then I can tolerate if it is possible. But if it is something to do with the ISKCON society, other Vaishnavas, spiritual master, then one should definitely take action. That is another principle. But in either case, the best thing is to take guidance and act accordingly. That is one thing. So your second question was?
Having basis of
Okay,
having
opinion, basis of opinions. Okay, of course, every opinion we make has to be in accordance to Guru Sadhu Shastra. We don't have any independent opinion. In many of Srila Prabhupada's lectures also, Prabhupada would say that, I have no opinion of my own. Even when somebody would ask Srila Prabhupada questions, what is your opinion? Prabhupada would immediately say, I have no opinion of my own. Whatever is my opinion is on the basis of Guru Sadhu Shastra. So that should be the basis. And even if I have some opinion, then that opinion needs to be confirmed. Again, by the same system, Guru Sadhu Shastra. I should confirm my opinion, whether it is correct, wrong. And as far as voicing one's opinion is concerned, then that should be done at the right time in the appropriate forums, and not that something has happened in the ashram and one keeps on gossiping. So sometimes something happens, devotees get together, each one will give his opinion. What is the use of just giving opinions and talking something? It is useless talk. So therefore, if there is some authorized person who can give the proper opinion, then that is what we should take. So, and even if we want to give some opinion or something, everything should be in line with Guru Sadhu Shastra. There is no point in simply uselessly talking. Then it's all on the platform of mental speculation. Each one is thinking, my opinion is this, my opinion is this, what is the use of such talk? There's no point.
It's all right to just simply absorb in our own sadhana and services, and or it's also situation is created by the Lord so that we can learn something for ourselves.
Yes, definitely we should be absorbed in our own sadhana and service. There is no option to that. That is the best thing to do. In fact, we read that other statement. You remember, Vishwakirti Prabhu? We read some statement from the 6th canto yesterday in the context of Maharaj Chitraketu's pastime. What is that? This is the safest position. What is the safest position? Yes, doing one's own prescribed duties without unnecessarily criticizing others. That is the safest position. So yes, so we should be engaged in our own duties. That is the best thing to do. My sadhana, my service, be absorbed in that. That's perfect. That's perfect. And so many situations will come, go. If we can learn something from them, then that's good. We should learning from others' mistakes. But then in accordance to what senior devotees are saying, and we learn from that. No need of unnecessarily gossiping, criticizing, discussing, not that way. That's useless. Chicken? Anything else?
Not a question, but in regards to yesterday offenses, I recently came across when Prabhupada wrote that purport of famous Chaitanya Charitamrita 19.157, we read the purport of Bhakti Bij, Upashaka, Sandal. This was, of course, when His Holiness Trivikram Swami Maharaj was absent in Tokyo. he was mentioning.
Mm.
So that the tour Prabhupada was making when the poison started. That Prabhupada, we follow Prabhupada, not ISKCON.
Oh, this is the Hawaii case.
Hawaii case.
Mm.
So first he went to Hawaii, and then he came to Tokyo. Then he came to Hong Kong.
Mm.
So when he was in Hong Kong, he treated all the two. The third case was his Gurujan Prabhu, just to mention, because His Holiness Satsuru Das Goswami Maharaj was person servant. So this he writes in his Life with Perfect Master. In that he writes this pastime. So they went to Hong Kong. So
that pastime
of car is very famous pastime of
morning program.
Morning program. So when he was given, a hotel is given, very wonderful hotel. So the second day, Prabhupada translated this verse purport. I mean, he made dictaphone and Satsuru Maharaj typed it. So he thought, okay, I should, because he also know what is going on. As a personal servant, he is understanding some things are. So he thought he will explain to Bhujan Prabhu. Before that only Prabhupada called him Bhujan Prabhu. And he personally played that dictaphone with the clicks, with sounds, everything to Bhujan Prabhu and his wife together. Everything, this purport especially. Maharaj writes that this is the what Prabhupada.
This is where in Bhujan Prabhu's book.
This is in Life with Perfect Master.
And that's by?
His Holiness Satsuru Goswami Maharaj.
Satsuru Maharaj, okay.
1973. So then Prabhupada himself played. Maharaj was explaining. I thought of sharing what I typed. But before that only Prabhupada could understand that I need to give them. So he called them. He played his dictaphone personally to hear this purport especially. And that whole purport also he writes in his book. He pays this purport. What exactly the two paras. Then it was really a great change in his, especially his Bhujan Prabhu mentioning. There is a great transformation. They accept again. Of course, there was influence of that's how he explains. Satsuru Goswami explains the whole situation about the purport and the incidents that are happening in this ISKCON. How this one Anandji, the famous, how he started that he is a pure devotee. He's like a mature devotee. That's what Prabhupada is mentioning. So-called mature devotees, thinking that they are pure devotees.
Correct.
And how we should be surrounded by pure devotees. About the case of here. So that's a beautiful narration. I just
okay. So it was related to that pastime going on.
The whole thing is going on 73. That issue is going on. We follow Prabhupada, not ISKCON.
Siddhaswarupana. Siddhaswarupana.
I don't know. Anandji was mentioned there. Everybody is influenced by Anandji. Was name is given. I don't know who is Anandji.
No, at least the Hawaii pastime was Siddhaswarupana.
Correct. Maybe I think 2-3 are there. I think in the whole issue. But so this is where I could context-wise when I understand it was really very Bhujan Prabhu's.
Yes, there are purports where Srila Prabhupada has written in accordance to context actually. That Gajendra pastime also, that was when Madhudvi Swami gave up his sannyas.
Okay.
You know the famous Gajendra pastime where the purport where Prabhupada talks about the renounced order, Grihastha ashram, one should be situated according to one's spiritual strength and all that. So Prabhupada has written such contextual purports. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada's purports are very relevant for ISKCON devotees because Srila Prabhupada specifically taking into consideration ISKCON situation writes his purports. That's true. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yesterday we saw from Vishnu Chakri Thakur that the devotee does not have any obstacle arising from time and karma. So here when Brahma is speaking to Vaibhava Maharaj in verse 16, so here he is telling even when he is liberated, he nevertheless accepts the body he has received according to his past karma. So however, he regards his enjoyment and suffering due to that karma. So here this karma word is referring to what?
Right. So basically the karma that is referred to here is the prarabdha karma, the body. Body one already has got, na? What can be done about it? Correct? So when body is there, then the effects of the body will be there. The effects of old age, disease, they're going to be there, whoever one may be. So, but whatever other sufferings may come, then those sufferings are directly given by Krishna. But what is being referred to here is the prarabdha karma, that is the body itself, and the effects due to that body.
So, Prabhuji, in this context, how is this convincing Priyavrata Maharaj to take up ruling the...
As Prabhupada is writing that purport, that Priyavrata may think that I am on the liberated platform, so what is the necessity for me to take up the kingdom? Because duties, Varnashram duties, are meant only for one who is in the conditioned state. Correct? Two types of swadharmas. What are they?
Spiritual and...
Conditional duties, constitutional duties. What is the Sanskrit word? Anyway, whatever. You know this. Conditional duties, constitutional. Conditional duties are Varnashram duties. So conditional duties have to be carried out as long as one is in the conditioned state. But when one is in the liberated platform, in the conditioned state, one has to perform both. But on the liberated platform, one can give up the conditional duties and only perform constitutional duties. So, Priyavrata Maharaj may say, I am on the liberated platform. So why should I perform these Varnashram duties? These are Varnashram duties, na? Becoming a king, getting married, all these are Varnashram duties. I am on the liberated platform, so why should I perform? He may say that. So therefore, the Brahmaji is trying to tell him that, okay, even though you are on the liberated platform, but still, because you have a material body, and so therefore you need to perform some activity, some karma, as even Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Na? In the Bhagavad Gita also, one thing Krishna says is, 3rd chapter, Nahi kasyat shanamapi jatu tishtati karma, karyati avasya karma sarvaprat. One thing is, everyone has to perform some sort of work. But of course, one may argue that work is only required on the conditioned state. And that same argument Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita. After saying all these verses, Arjuna also may say the same thing. Arjuna also may say, I'm on the liberated platform. So therefore, I don't need to fight. I don't need to be act as a Kshatriya. Then how Krishna refutes that? Out of duty to set an example. And that's how he gives the example of Janak Maharaj. He gives his own example. And then he says, Yad yad acharati shreshtas. So even though one may be on the liberated platform, still as a matter of setting an example, so one has to perform one's duties. So similar thing is saying here also, that even though you're on the liberated platform, but you have a material body, and so because you still have a material body, therefore perform your duties and set a good example. That's basically what he's trying to say. Anything else? Acha, you got that. It's a letter or a lecture?
Letter to Gopichan Vallabh is written.
Acha, it's a letter. Read.
I'm just reading the...
Because I remember hearing one lecture also.
Okay.
Entitled, Don't Become Better Paramhamsa Than Your Guru Maharaj.
Okay.
So maybe both are there.
Yeah, I think Vrindavan, maybe giving lectures also, maybe in that.
Okay, pass.
Vrindavan 1974, in between I am just reading. So you must see that he's writing to Gopijan Vallabh, Prabhuji. You must see that they strictly follow the regulative principles, the 4 prohibitions, as well as the devotional practices of arising early, taking morning bath, putting on tilak, attending Mangalarti, chanting Japa 16 rounds, and attending Srimad Bhagavatam class. This is the duty of all my initiated disciples, whether they are big or they are small. Actually, in our movement, there is no such thing as big or small. Everyone is a devotee. So everyone is expected to follow the devotional practices. Here in Vrindavan, I am enjoying my disciples, how they are speaking. So 2 times daily, everyone must attend the classes.
2 times daily, huh? Yes.
During the morning and evening times, there should be no business. Simply kirtan, chant, dance, and be purified. Don't be Paramahamsa that now I haven't got to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Don't be a better Paramahamsa than your Guru Maharaj. I go and sit and I enjoy the lectures and how they are performing Kirtan. So, as I am doing, you must also do it.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Yes. These are all Prabhupada's instructions. And that's why we see Trivikram Maharaj also was talking about the evening program. And so you can see how these devotees are so faithful to Srila Prabhupada, even now. At this age, still Gaurarti he is performing Gaurarti and giving class. Why? You see, this is called faith. Faith in the instructions of the spiritual master. Even till date, you can see that faith, such strong faith. So, he may not be able to quote some big verses and this and that, but what is the use? What is the need? The ultimate purpose of all the Shastric study is what? To come to that platform of Dhrida Shraddha. So, if that is achieved, whether one knows verses or does not know, what difference it makes. On the other hand, somebody knows all the verses and knows all the Shastra, but has no faith in the instructions, what is the use? That's the point. Yes. All right. So we have about, should we start the next chapter or tomorrow? And my next chapter is, actually next chapter you can read on your own. This is like a little bit like a Bollywood movie. I personally don't like reading. But anyway, it is there in the Bhagavatam. So we should definitely, it's a small chapter actually. It's a small chapter. But of course, there's a lot of meaning to it. And some good Prabhupada purports. So definitely we'll read it for our purification and learn something. It's a short chapter. We can easily finish it tomorrow. And then on Friday, we'll do the third chapter. Third chapter is a small chapter. So that will do. Okay, fine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So where's Madhukiran Prabhu and Radha? Ramavala Prabhu told me he is having health. His health is also not good. And what happened, Madhukiran? He's serving them. Good. Hare Krishna.